Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Creators Connect series. My name is Luca, but you can call me that camera guy. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your love and support. I truly appreciate it. And if you are new here, please do consider subscribing if you like this video. Now you may have already seen by the title, but in today's episode of the show, we're joined by the absolutely amazing and the uber talented Cold Out Music. Yes, it's him, the one, the only Cold Out Music. A little bit of a backstory. I reached out to him about 2-3 months ago. I completely brushed him. Set a date and time, and I went MIA. I went completely off the grid, and I just wasn't there. He sent me an email to confirm. I didn't respond to it, and then that was that. I sent him another email apologizing and telling him that I'd gotten busy and I just lost track of time. He didn't even respond. I felt so bad. But something in me moved me to reach out to him again. I just could not live with myself if I did not try again. So I sent him another email and I explained to him, and I'm like, you know what? Can we try this again? And he so graciously responded. He's an absolutely amazing individual to speak to and to meet in person. He's an absolutely amazing guy, and I thank him for that. We're going to do things a little bit differently in today's episode. You're not going to see myself. You're not going to see Cold Out. We're going to do it in a bit of a podcast type format. So you're going to hear us speak, but you're not going to see our faces. And in the show, we do talk about what inspired the name Cold Out. Like, it's such a unique name, it's such a different name. What inspires it? So we get to hear that from him. We also get to hear how it feels like to be an artist, to be a musician who has clocked 10 million screams. 10 million screams. He clocked 10 million screams. Why is he clocking screams? We get to hear from Cold Out what it's like for a musician to have clocked 10 million streams on Spotify. So just sit back, relax, and let's connect with this absolutely... I don't know if you can hear that. Someone left the kettle on. I think it's Tia. She just went on. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Where was I? Okay. Oh, no, we're not. Zoom. Okay, focus. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're back. Where was I? Okay. We get to hear from him what it feels like to have clocked 10 million I said that already. Okay, this is gonna... Wow, such a long intro. Alright, you know what? Let's just sit back, relax, and connect with Cold Out Music. Okay, so thank you so much for joining. I really do appreciate it. Again, like I said, taking time out of your busy schedule. I'm a bit of a fan, so I'm straight fanning up here. Been listening to your music for a minute, and it's really inspirational. I think I shared it with you already, and I really do enjoy it. But you made a post recently. It was actually very interesting, and you're like celebrating 3 years of my prayer, and I can't believe it's been 3 years. It feels so short, but it also feels like it's been a long time ago. I remember the first time I listened to my prayer, and I went to my sister. I'm like, "Come, you need to listen to this dude." And it's like, she's like, "Who is this guy? Where is he from? What is the song?" But I love it so much, and we listened to it, and it's been Cold Out Music ever since. But what's that been like? Like the making of my prayer, and did you ever think it was gonna blow up and in 3 years be where it is today?
No, man. I think first of all, there's two people who I definitely have to shout out, because without them, my prayer doesn't see the light of day. Is my manager now, Chibs. He was someone who was like, "Look, dude, this song is actually pretty dope." Because I've been doing my prayer for a year before it actually officially came out. So since like 2016, around like circuits and underground, like I remember going to this underground spot in London and singing my prayer to people who I wasn't even sure if they were Christians, but the whole room just going silent, kind of thing. And then, my manager saw those videos and stuff, and it's just like, yo, this needs to come out. And also my producer, Will, shout out to Will, man. Like, there was a short version of my prayer, and we had to switch it up. So the version that people hear is the newer version of my prayer. So my manager and Will made it a possibility. I didn't think it would blow up, man. Like, till this day, I'm still surprised how like something that came out 3 years ago still feels so fresh.
Mhm.
But I guess when you write from the heart, it always is gonna be relevant, you know?
Yeah, it is. I mean, speaking about Chibs, it's very interesting. And you mentioned him. I'm pretty sure he is the director and owner of HFP, right?
Yeah.
And speaking about, so I want to ask a little bit more about that. And I mean, you mentioned Chibs in almost each and every one of your posts. You don't post anything and talk about called out and not mention HFP. They come as like one unit. And you made a post. I don't remember when exactly, but you were talking about how you were just thinking back to the time you shot your first ever music video, "I Will Serve."
Oh yeah.
And you were like, it was just like y'all cleared out the garage and then you moved the piano
Mhm.
to the garage, you shot the video, and that was the
Yeah.
start of this. And my question is, what's the relationship between cold out music and HFP and Chibs? Like, how's that mashup come to be?
So he's like, I remember me and my family moving to the UK. He was one of the first people I met.
Mhm.
So it was literally that kind of vibe where he's pretty much seen me for half of my life now. Well, I'm about to be 26 and I've been in the UK for 13 years. So he's been like a big brother, a mentor, a guide. I call him Uncle C, but he's not that old. It's like just because like he's a very wise dude.
Mhm.
So he has HFP is actually a publishing company,
Okay.
publishes books, music, everything, and it's just like it's an amazing home for just creatives.
Mhm.
And he had this beautiful idea when he wrote a book, and he started his own thing, and then HFP just became a home where we could launch things from, like creative ideas, and all
Mhm.
his ideas can go through HFP. And then a couple of people around us, like Mapo, who's also in HFP, an incredible artist, we launched his album through HFP, and it just became
Wow.
a thing of just like, yo, because I live in Hampshire in England, which isn't like in the hub of where the music hotspots are. So it's either London or Brighton. So I don't
Okay.
live in any of those places. So I always wondered, how would I get music out there without being in those places? And HFP
Mm.
just provided this like safety bed. It's like, look, you don't always have to look for the piece, someone to sign you, or oh, I need this person to notice me. Just
Mhm.
start, for
Yeah.
crying out. Just start, release it, put it out there. And we've got a good friend. His name is Yinka, and he works with Premier Gospel. He always says, "Good music, is its own PR. Like if it's good, people will hear about it."
Yep. Yep. Yep.
HFP music has stood by that. It's like, look, I've literally seen HFP start from zero subscribers on YouTube and zero like streams overall, and it's just like grown, and just because it's been true to itself, and it's just been an amazing journey, bro.
I mean, it really has been an amazing journey. I've seen um, the amount of streams that you guys have been clocking as a unit, and like the amount of lives you guys are touching, the amount of people that respond to your work as well is absolutely amazing. But was this always the dream for you? Did you
Yes.
grow up saying this is what I want to do? And like, what's the earliest memory of you singing or wanting to pursue this passion of content creation?
Wow,
And yeah.
that's a great question. It wasn't, if I'm being totally honest, it wasn't a realistic dream. I say realistic dreams because you have like dreams where it's just like close your eyes and think of your best case scenario, and
Yeah.
then you have dreams where you're like, oh, it's a dream, but I can actually see a way into this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I didn't have that with music till I came to the UK.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so that when I was 13, meeting Chibs was like, oh, I have a dream in my heart, but he provided like a way in for me to start making that a reality.
Wow.
And being around the right people and the opportunities that came, and getting the chance to be music director at church at 13, it's like
Wow.
those things came about. It's like, yeah, I can actually do this for real,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
um, and after finishing university, it was like, let's just launch out into this. I did have jobs, excuse me, working in finance because I'm an accountant by like education.
That's
uh,
crazy.
it's
That's
nuts. It's not,
actually crazy.
never used it a day since leaving uni. I
That's
guess
funny.
being,
That's funny.
oh man, it's what it is. but it taught me a lot of things as well. But I mean, like the reality of it is, I didn't see myself being an artist till
Mhm.
I came to the UK. I don't know why that was. You know, maybe the opportunity didn't come when I was back home in
Mm,
Abuja.
mm,
Maybe just coming to the UK just made me think outside the box a little bit more.
mm.
Um, but yeah, I'll say only in the UK did that become like a real thing. Like I could do this.
I mean, I definitely thank God for that, making that opportunity and giving me that platform to do that. And you mentioned how you meeting Chibs and him connecting you to the right people also created a platform
Sure.
for that. So I'm pretty sure you've met a lot of people. You've met a lot of high
Yeah.
profile people. You've encountered some pretty looked up to people, respected people in the music community and in the Christian community. And I
Mm.
know it's difficult. I know I had an interview recently and I was asking someone, out of all the people you've met, who stands out the most? And you're like, that's a very difficult question to ask because
And
everyone I've met, I can attribute and give them a piece of them getting me to where I am today. So it was hard for that person to pick out one individual encounter they had that stands
mm.
out of all of them. Do you have an incident like that? One person who you met and you're like, you know what, this was absolutely amazing.
There's loads, man. Like you know, it's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, it
I met
is.
lots of people like Joe Metal and Nathaniel Bassey who have changed the way I think about things like
Mm-hmm.
completely. Even meeting people like closer to home, encountering. I don't know if you've heard of Becca Folks. Um,
Yes, 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 yes,
she
yes.
is like the way she thinks is just unreal. And sometimes when we have conversations, I leave feeling super inspired. You know,
Mm,
when I drop the phone, I'm like, wow, like that's just personal to me. Like Chibs is also someone that
yeah.
has really just transformed my. And I had a conversation with someone who quite recently who worked for like a record label, which I don't want to say too much, but it wasn't even a thing about being signed or whatever, but it was just his profile and the words of wisdom that he passed on to me. I
Mm,
think recently, I never met him in person, but it was just the way he just communicated what faith and faith-filled music should be. I
mm,
think that was like one of my biggest highlights this year.
mm.
And it was just like, oh wow, like having these contacts and having people you can call on, it's just so incredible. So I'm just
It is.
blessed, man. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I mean, going back to this topic of my prayer, right? It's 3 years
Mm.
since my prayer. And since my prayer, you've been able to release, I mean, 3 albums, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
Um, 3 albums in 3 years. I mean, that's a lot of work. That is a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. And is that the kind of consistency that you're going with moving forward? That's the first question. And with that is there anything else we can look forward to in terms of you as a content creator and as an influential person outside just making music?
Yeah, I mean for sure. I think with the album thing, excuse me, it wasn't. I don't think it was like intentional to have like 3 albums in 3 years because like the first album was more of like a collection. It's
Yes, it
literally called
was. It's called The
yeah.
Collection. Yes,
It's
yes,
literally called the collection. Like it's not
yes.
even a. It wasn't. So that was like okay, let's just put these together and just launch it out.
Hmm,
As like
hmm.
a first official album. And then in due time and portraits were the ones that I properly thought about. Portraits more so than in due time because in due time, if I'm being totally honest, like, and I always tell my manager this, a big part of me was doing an album for doing an album's sake in
Wow.
due time. Like, it was
Mm.
just like, oh, I'm 2 years in as an artist. This was like 2018. I had this big concert coming up called Out Live in London. And I was like,
Yeah, the big one.
yeah, the big one. And that was crazy thinking that that was only 2 years in to my artistry that we were able to do that, which is just a blessing. And I just felt, oh, I need an album. Everyone's asking for an album. Let me do an album. And it was like, in due time was like I had been recording so many songs about waiting on God at that time, and I
Mm.
just put it together. And I was like, all right, cool, this is a piece. Um, but Portraits was probably a lot more thought out in
Yeah.
terms of I want to show what goes on in my mind. So, like stylistically, they're both very different projects
Mm.
where Portraits is a lot more like heavy on. It's like
Yeah.
every song
It
almost
is.
seems to just be going and going and
It
going.
is.
Whereas
It
New
is.
Time kind of is more relaxed. Yeah. So consistently as an artist, I'm gonna try, but I feel like I really enjoy the hype of releasing singles a lot. In terms of just putting out, having all the concentration on it, doing all you need to do on it, and then moving on. Whereas albums do take a lot of work to think through properly, I would say.
They do.
But yeah, also lately, like I've been getting a lot of invites to talk and just share my heart with people, which is a blessing. So I don't know if that's maybe God's way of saying, you know, there is a lot more. I've been serving as a worship pastor at the moment, or recently, and that's been another great learning curve where I've learned to see myself as more than just an artist. And actually, I don't like to call myself a pastor, but I am opening up my heart to be used in whatever that God wants. So that's what I would say.
And I was watching one of your, I don't think it was an interview, but you made a comment, something similar to that about, you know, I think it was one of the biggest lessons you've learned this year. And you said that it's just humbling myself and allowing God to take me where he needs to take me. You know, that's like one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
And just opening up to the possibility, okay, you know what, wherever you take me, God, is where I go. And I'm surrendering and submitting to that, which is absolutely beautiful. Which is absolutely beautiful. Well, you made a post on Twitter and then you screenshotted it and posted it on Instagram. And I found it to be very significant. I thought we can talk about that. You said we're in an age where people are more content in following people and vessels rather than reading the word of God for themselves and following Jesus. So now my question is, you've been growing in the last 3 years as an individual and you're very much influential in the community and people look up to you. Do you ever fear the possibility of this very same thing happening to you, where people see your music and for them, that's enough. That's all the Jesus they need, you know? And how can you make sure, or is it even possible to make sure that they don't do that? And, you know, every time they see your music and they see you as an individual, they constantly see Jesus Christ instead of the individual called out. You ever think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, that's a very good question. I think with that, I was really just addressing the fact that it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It's like the people who are the religious leaders, especially in the Christian sphere, are making more efforts to be personalities than just to be resources. Like they want to be a brand so much more than they just want to
be a servant of God.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it's like, that doesn't help because people are now, they're saying things in a way that it's them saying it as opposed to, oh, like this is what God has to say. So they almost put themselves in that, like, because they meant, it's like how I see it is there's God who sends a message to, I don't know how to put it. So there's the pastor is meant to just be a link, almost as in like transparent.
100%.
Yeah. So don't get in the way of it. Just let the light go through you so that people can.
Then you reflect it. 100%. Yeah.
Exactly. And unfortunately, there are some people in the faith who are just very content with just give me what I want to hear. I'm gonna be all right. I don't want to read the Bible. Don't tell me to read the Bible. I don't want to read the Bible. I'm not bothered about that. Just give me what I want to hear to feed my ego, to feed my idea of who Jesus is. Because there's another thing that is always like, some people might be so comfortable in their sin that they're so reluctant to change that if a pastor comes and says, oh, for example, God loves you the way you are.
And then like, that's that.
And then if that's all he says, and he doesn't go on then and say, oh, however, it doesn't mean you should go on and live in sin. Someone might take that and be like, oh, I like this guy. I like this guy. Because they've heard what they want to hear. And it's like it becomes this. Oh, I love when this person preaches because they massage their egos. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm always like, look, the word of God will cut you deep.
Well,
Like, scripture is there to literally be a mirror, to be like this. Okay, you think you're doing all right? Read scripture, and it's gonna tell you, whoa, I have to be so humble in the place of God because this Christian walk is, it can be testing sometimes,
it really can. True. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I was just trying to encourage myself first of all, and every other person who read it. Like, look, yes, we have these wonderful men and women of God. They're not God. They are simply vessels. They will get it wrong. Like, fortunately, we've been reading stories of people who bless millions falling,
Crazy. Yeah.
and it's like that's just an example of the fact that we are all just human beings, being used by a perfectly wonderful God, and it's a privilege to be used by Him. So never put anyone in His place.
Wow, that is deep. I really resonated with that, and I found it to be very interesting and very true at the same time.
Yeah.
And then personally for me, just looking at the way my life was going and things like that. So I found it to be very encouraging, and I thank you for that.
No problem.
But I'm I'm interested to know. I've never heard it anywhere explained before. Why you chose the name Called Out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I think I was recently baptized. I knew I was ready to go into music. This was like 2015. And I knew I started working on some music, and the conversation came up of what name do you want to go with? And obviously, like, I'm a very proud Igbo boy. Like, my full name is Samuel Chigozrim Nwachukwu. And it's like, I could use that, but at the end of the day, I want to give people something to grab hold on to.
It's definitely different. Called Out, it's very different. It's very different.
And that's a blessing. And I remember like reading 1 Peter 2:9 and reading the whole like chosen generation, royal priesthood, called out of darkness into light. And then at that moment I was like, ooh, called out. It's not something I've heard like before. It sounds like I loved it because you couldn't really tell if it was a person or a group, which is something that I love for the first. Like, I love that there's no immediate attachment to a person.
Yes.
Rather, it's a immediate attachment to a mentality, like a state.
So true. Like when I heard the name and I shared it with my sister, she's like, "What group is that?" She's like, she didn't. She's like, "What band is that? What group is that?" She didn't immediately attach it to one thing, to one singular thing. It's so much bigger. I don't know how to explain it.
So much bigger.
That's what it evokes. Just hearing it, that's what it evokes.
And I love that. And I love the fact that I keep getting asked what drove that, because I always wanted something to talk about. I always wanted a name to already give me an opportunity to share the gospel. It's like, oh, what called out music? What does called out mean? It's like, okay, let's talk about why. First of all, let's talk about where it's come from. Let's talk about who made me called out. Who's calling me out? Like, all those, like, it just gives me an immediate chance to talk about Jesus. And it's like, I never want called out for 1 second to be about me. Yes, I'm the one making the music, but I want people to listen to called out and just be reminded of their real identity, the identity that has been given to them through Jesus,
Wow, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Okay, so just in July, you made a post again. I've just been seeing all these posts, right? You made a post about how you've clocked 10 million Spotify streams. I mean, that's massive. In a space of 3 years, that's absolutely massive. And I can only give thanks to God for such growth and such a response from the world, But how does that make you feel, honestly, like deep down? Did you, 3 years ago in the garage shooting hours, did you ever think you would did you see 3 years from then? Did you project 3 years from then, or you had a 5 years, 6 years, 7 year projection?
No, I didn't. I think the one thing with me and Chibs is that this is largely down to him. He doesn't stop. He doesn't stop going.
You mentioned it, you've mentioned it before a couple of times.
He would literally be like, "Oh, we've done this. Cool. What's next?" And it was like, a classic example of that happened after Portraits.
Mhm.
So I remember that was the night we dropped Portraits. And that night I sent him 3 new song ideas to be like, yo, what do you think about this for the next single? And it was like Portraits had just dropped. Like, like it was mad at that point. And it was like I sent him new ideas after we had just released an album to the world. And at that moment, the way he was like, oh yeah, this is dope. Let's change that, was like, this dude literally thinks how I think. Cause I'm always like, I always want to be so far ahead in my mind in terms of my release schedule that I'm never under pressure to create music.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So it's just like, look, I want to create music because I love it, not because, oh, I'm out of songs. I need to create something. So the streaming thing was something that just came about. We were like, yo, this has happened. Like we just kept going. This has happened. And then since I made that post, it's nuts because I go on Spotify and we're nearly on 13 million. So I'm like, wait, within that space,
it's been another 3 million.
That's not. And it's like, it's always great to have moments where you pause and you think, wow, God is amazing.
God is amazing. Yeah. Give thanks. Always give thanks.
Give thanks always, man. But I think with HFP as a label, they're relentless in terms of how they push me. Like, just to be like, yo, never settle. Like, yeah, you think you've got a good song. You think God is finished with you. He ain't even started, bro. You know, like, just keep being in a prayer, keep being humble. And all these extras will come, you know, because I always say, I would do Called Out without being paid a penny.
Wow.
So it's just like, I love to just create music, man.
Legit. Yo, I want to pick up on 2 things that you just mentioned to just close this off in terms of the questions that I have for you today. But you mentioned something about how you want to stay ahead of your game in terms of the content that you have and want to release, and you don't want to be under pressure. How do you do that? I know I struggled a lot to remain consistent in the amount of content I was releasing, the amount of pictures I was taking and videos I was shooting. I just became tired and fatigued, and there came a point where I was like, you know what? I want to break. And it was literally just 1 month of no content creation. How do you sometimes go through something like that? How do you stay sane?
Yeah.
Like, how do you balance it all out?
That's a good question. I have moments where, and I was saying to my friend, Abs, recently, I was like, I have moments where I create every, like, say it would be like 2 months where I create like 50 to 70 new different like ideas.
Sure.
And I have like a month where I'm just dry. And a month where I'm just not, I'm literally trying to create something and it's just not working.
A contrast.
So exactly, like proper, like hitting a wall.
Yeah.
So what I do is those 2 months where I'm just creating new ideas, I try not to dwell on them too much. So I'll just create maybe song or maybe verse, chorus, or maybe beat, idea, voice note kind of thing. And then in that month where I'm dry, I would just go back on them and start filling bits out. And then before you know it, in a year, you get to the end of the year and you're like, I have 20, 25 songs that are mixed and mastered.
Wow.
And it's just like, oh, right, this is amazing. So what I now would do is I will plan like a release schedule for like 2 to 3 years ahead. So it's now like, bro, it sounds crazy, but I promise you, like, when you're doing it with a group of producers and people that you love and you know that they get what you're thinking, because I've got like 4 or 5 producers who really would hear my ideas and be like, yo, let's do that.
Okay.
So you're just like sending stuff out. Yo, Jola, yo, Will, yo, check this out. Yo, da. And by the end of the year, you have like 20 songs, not even kidding, 2025, where it's like, I could drop this as a project. I could drop this as an album. I could drop this as an EP. I could break it down to like 4 different 5. So it's like, you're now planning everything. And with those songs, you're like, okay, I'm going to plan out a schedule for the next 2 to 3 years. And then out of those, 10 of them might be in an album. Another 10 might be in another album. 5 might be singles. But then what now happens is, and this happened, a good example of this is Warm Embrace. So I dropped a song called Warm Embrace early this year.
Yeah, I remember that.
Warm Embrace was not part of the release schedule. Like,
really?
that's the thing. So it was like, Warm Embrace was just an idea that came and it was done in 2 days. It was like, the schedule was pushed all the way back because we had what we felt was a gem in Warm Embrace. So it was like, yo, I'm calling my manager and I'm like, yo, I feel I've got something. So he heard it. He's like, yo, this is dope. Cool, let's release this. So what that helps me achieve is like, I'm always creating music because I love it, not because I'm under pressure. Because if Warm Embrace doesn't come out, the next thing is already in the cards to drop. So just like, I always want to be in that, because even the way the Holy Spirit works and how he moves is like, something might be seasonal, something might be for right now. And God is like, Samuel, drop this now. And it's like, or he gives me a new idea that I can create into something. Just not being under pressure as a creative. I know it takes a lot to not be under pressure, but I would encourage every creative, like, trust me, in the good moments, when you're feeling it, every creative knows when they're feeling it. You know, like when you're in your flow, like, just keep going. Like, you have another idea. Don't feel bad because, oh, I started a great idea yesterday. Save it, store it, keep it. You have another fresh idea. Do something new, because the moment will come where you're trying everything and it's not working. Bring those ideas back and create something, and you'd realize that at the end of the year, oh my word, I've got like 7-8 songs that I can drop. And now you're cushy because you're just creating for the fun of it, which is why we make music anyway.
Yep.
Trust.
I love that. And I think I can relate with the part you're talking about. You know, if you've got something, write it down and store it away. So many times I've thought of stuff, right? And I've thought about 30% of the idea. And I'm like, it's not 100%. And then I toss it away. And I never write it down. I never store it up. And I think about it later. I'm like, what was that idea again? And it's not there anymore. So I really vibe with that. I really vibe with that. Write it down, store it up, put it somewhere safe. And then next time when you're high and dry, then you can just like bring it back out.
Trust.
And then
those times will come.
They will. I struggled. I definitely struggled just a couple months ago. But we're back now. I'm good. The last question. You mentioned a couple things. You mentioned that it was very interesting. You were like, I could do cold out and not get a single penny and still enjoy it, you know, and that's big. That's big. And you also mentioned something else on your Instagram, and it was a video. It was a very touching video, which I could relate to a lot, and I see people struggling with it a lot as well. Is you said numbers do not define who you are as a creative, and you had a short talk about that, and you explained what that is. But the question is to you. I mean, you're clearly getting the numbers, right? You're clearly getting the numbers. But what defines called out as a creative?
The fact that I can kind of preach the gospel through music in a way that might make people stop in their tracks, or just be like, oh, I was really blessed by that. Like I was saying, I don't know if it's maybe the reason why I say numbers don't define you as a creative is because I've been doing this for a while, really, as in like before. I feel like called out music is what people see. Is like, it's like almost this fine level where, oh, now it's in the world.
They haven't seen the behind the scenes.
Nah, they ain't. Like, because I've been creating art, like music, since I was 7.
Wow.
And I've been writing songs since I was 13. So it's like, if those songs never saw the light of day, there was a certain satisfaction that I just got with putting things together and showing it to my mom or to my dad and seeing their faces just like light up.
That's beautiful.
Every creative has that. Why are you really doing this moment where it's just like, when you find that, the numbers don't matter. Like when I even started Called Out, and I just spoke earlier about doing, you know, like underground places in London before even my prayer came out, like going into a place where I'm not even sure if people are Christians here and seeing the whole room go silent. That is like my payment, because I'm noticing that people are aware that this music is good.
Yeah.
They're listening to the words. They're being blessed by it. So it's like, even when I go on tour and I just like play the music to people, that moment, I'm not thinking about how much I'm earning, bro. I'm thinking about the fact that I'm connecting with people and we are having a God moment right now. That's why I do Called Out. That's the reason why I hope people would gravitate to my music because it's like I'm just trying to, one, live for Jesus Christ, and number two, write about my experiences along the way. And if you can relate to it, cool, we're gonna have a connection. End of story. But numbers, in terms of when I see people chasing a specific number or anything, bro, I'm not gonna lie to you, not all of my songs hit crazy numbers.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Bro, let's just talk facts.
and that's actually so true. It's actually so true.
Bro, not all of my songs be hitting like crazy millions or like hundred thousands of streams. But at the end of the day, I'm not doing it because I want to hit specific numbers. I'm doing this because I have a cool idea. I feel like the Holy Spirit's breathed on it, and it sounds great. And I get a satisfaction from
it.
From hearing people say, "Yo, called out, that was great." That's like no amount of money can ever make up for someone, because, bro, there are people who are getting streams in this life, but people don't like their music. I'm not trying to stop anyone. It's just a fact. There's people on Spotify right now who have millions of streams, but number one, nobody knows about, and number two, if you play their music for me, I'll be like, get this stuff away from me. It's just
that's fact, though. That's so accurate.
Right.
That's accurate.
So if you want to just chase numbers, like, I mean, I can't. Everyone has their own different journey, but I just pray that people don't lose themselves in terms of now people start to change their art that was so pure because they know this work and I want to hit that number. The purity of your art is what will get you the number in the end. Like when all is said and done, if you now start to taint your art form because I want to hit 1 million streams and I've seen how he hits it, so I'm going to copy what he did so I can try and hit it. Number one, you're not being authentic, and listeners can hear through that. Like, it's crazy how people think, oh, if I just copy that to get to where I want to be, listeners can notice that, because are you going to be on tour doing something that you don't like? You know, like, you have to think about all these things, and it's like, yo, just be yourself, man. Like, it will come. And numbers are different for different people. Like, I hate to say this, but there are some people who are on this earth to create solid, God glorifying music that will bless a few people.
Yeah.
Like, your satisfaction has to come from the fact that you do this for God, and it's a privilege, and you just enjoy creating music. Like, if you're satisfied with that, everything else just becomes a plus. You know, it's like, it's just a plus that Called Out has done well and done numbers. It's just a plus. Like, I was grinding like crazy, like even when none of this was hit, and I was saying the same thing. And I hope in the name of Jesus that I remain at a point where it doesn't matter to me, because I'm not saying it because I'm above it, because I'm still a human being. Sometimes I look at it and I'm like, oh, it would be nice for this to get there. And I have to always caution myself and be like, Samuel, it's not about that. It's not about how many streams it's got. It's how many people have actually connected to Jesus through your music. And because we can never know that figure, in terms of so many people will be blessed by music but never tell you, because you can never know that figure, you have to be satisfied with the fact that you've done what God has asked you to do. And if you're satisfied with that, then you're super, super cool. You're good.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying.
Wow. I can pick out so many things from that. And I think one of the things that definitely stands out a lot is trying to change your art form to try and appeal to the masses, you know?
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, I'm releasing this content and I'm doing this thing, but people aren't listening to it. But I see them listening to this person, and then you switch it up and you change it. I promise you, I feel like that's such a depressing state to be in. I don't think anyone can be genuinely happy changing their art form and just trying to do it to please people. I think in the short run, for sure, I think you get what you want to get, but long run, that's a big one. That's a big one. I love that. And I hope the people who are going to listen to this can definitely pick that up. I hope they can definitely pick that up. Well, thank you so much for sitting through this and being here. I appreciate it. I did promise I wasn't going to take too much of your time. I do hope that 3 years from now, we'll probably gonna have another 6 albums, and then we can bring you back into the show. We're gonna bring you back into the show. We can talk about it. I mean, that'll be cool. But I really do appreciate taking the time out, knowing how busy of a schedule you have. Thank God for your kind hearts and your willingness to serve. It's really amazing. But before we clock off, like I had said, we're gonna play a quick game. So I've taken 10 songs.
Sure.
Some that you are on your own by yourself, and some that you featured on, or you had people featuring in. And I've picked lines that you sang, right?
Sure.
And you're gonna have to tell me which songs that those are, right?
Good, man.
Well, I've got a funny feeling that you're gonna get all of them correct in like 5 minutes.
Hopefully.
I hope I pose a test. I hope you don't have your laptop open. Checking.
Nah.
Okay. Here goes the first one. It's but you held my hand and you brought me out of the sea.
That's found in you, man.
Dang,
Come on, bro.
that was quick. Like, come on, test me.
Yeah.
Test me. Okay, the next one is Savior and Friend, the one that was sent.
You are my God.
My days, this guy's good. All right, I'll trade it all just to be with you. Oh yes, got him thinking.
I'll trade it all just to be with you. I'll trade it all just to be with you. I'll trade it all. I feel like that's from Portraits. I'll trade it all just to be
No,
with
it's
you.
not actually.
No, it's not.
I can give you a hint. You featured on the song.
It's gonna annoy me. It's gonna annoy me. I trade it all just to be with you. No turning back. Radical.
Yes. Well done.
Yeah.
I had a feeling it's the ones you featured on. I'm gonna pause a bit of a problem. The next one is you give me strength to face whatever comes my way. Yes, it's you.
Roy.
It's Ro.
Yeah.
100%. And then we have safe in your arms, I am grounded.
No. This is in your arms, I am grounded. In your arms, I am grounded. Is this new? This is like really.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not.
No?
It's also a song you featured on. Actually, let me check what year that was. No, it's new. Yes, it's new. It's dropped this year. About 6 months ago, 9 months ago.
Safe in your arms.
9 months ago, actually. It was 9 months ago.
So that would have been. It was 2020.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! How can I? This is like I produced this song, man. This is Ray, isn't it?
Yes. This was Ray on it. Yeah, Ray's on it.
Ray's gonna be so mad when she hears this.
Yeah, it was actually 9 months ago. I remember now.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll be dancing along to the music we made.
I know that because
I love the song.
That's a blessing, man. Like that's still standing because I had a post about it yesterday, so that's like fresh in my head. That's a blessing.
I love that song so much. And then, cause nobody knows tomorrow, only you.
Nobody knows tomorrow.
Cause nobody knows tomorrow, only you.
Only you, nobody. Anything.
Yes, anything.
Yeah.
This guy's good. He's getting them all. I've got three more. There's nothing too hard for the God that I serve.
Come on, bro.
Say hit this one. Hit this one. I love it. It was so difficult to choose 10. I mean, you've got so many songs. It was so hard to choose 10. Okay, louder and louder, I hear your voice calling out to me.
Louder and louder, man, that weights, and I feel the weights.
Yep.
That's a good one, actually.
I love that. Then the last one is all you. Okay, what was I writing here? Hectic. All you gotta do is trust me. I promise you. All you gotta do is trust me. I promise you.
Soaring High?
Soaring High it is. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
I think that was the second or the third one that got me. Radical, I think.
It was radical, yeah. It was radical. Yo, man, thank you so much. I definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.
I can't say thank you enough. I really can't say thank you enough. I do hope that God willing, I can meet you in person sometime. Maybe that
Sure.
would be cool if God allows. I don't know, but this has been quite an experience for me. I've learned so much for you, and I hope a lot of people can learn from you as well. Pretty inspiring.
Yes, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you.
Take it easy.
Same to you. Cheers, man.